On here to talk to you about my most current reading obsession, Atomic Habits by James Clear. That's probably backwards for you, but you get the picture. And how I see it correlating with the Enneagram. Now, Atomic Habits, if you haven't read it, is all about how to change your habits to change your life. In fact, his whole thesis is tiny changes, remarkable results. And he goes through and he breaks down exactly how we build habits and why we build habits. And when I was thinking about it as I'm reading it, I see Enneagram, identity, personality, motivation all over this content. So I wanted to break it down based on how I saw it and share with you my process as I went through. So here we go. Our identities are a series of habits. This is part of what James Clear talks about. So when you think about that, our identities are a series of habits. We are building our identities based on what we do every single day. And then our habits are a response to cues in our environment. What's happening? What's around us physically, the people. But there's this space in the middle between the cue, the environment, and then our response to that environment, which is our craving. So I'm going to break all these down, but I've just talked about cue, which is our environment, craving, which is our motivational impulse. What do we want when we're in that environment? And then what is our response to getting what we want? And then the fourth step, what is the reward? So I'm going to walk through cue, craving, response, and reward in context of the Enneagram, because as I was reading this, I was like, ooh, this is part of the answer of why certain habits are easier for certain types to adopt than others, because they might go with motivation rather than against. So if you're not familiar with the Enneagram yet, keep watching my stuff because you will get very familiar. But the Enneagram is a personality assessment that lays out 9 different core motivations. It tells us why we do what we do. And based on those motivations, we end up with a very, very predictable set of behaviors that then create identity. So it only makes sense to me that when we start to shift our habits in response to our motivations, that we also start to shift our identity. I want to bring this into the context of like a real world thought. So a lot of people are very interested in my weight loss journey, in my health journey, and all of that. And I think that the reason why people are so interested in weight loss journeys is because there's this innate sense, especially when someone has done it over a length of time, has sustained their weight loss, has continued on it. For me now, I'm in year 2, over year 2 of this journey. There's a sense that that they changed something fundamental about themselves in order to achieve that goal. I think it's the reason why we also love watching pro athletes, because we know that they have created a certain set of habits that has created excellence for them. But I'm going to take you all the way back to the beginning of my journey. So, one of the first weeks that I was really, really committed, this was June of 2021, really committed to my weight loss. I was in San Diego staying with my mother in law, so Eric's mom. And it was beautiful. We're there, we're on vacation. And normally in this environment, so think cue, craving, response, reward, in this cued environment, I would say, well, I'll just eat whatever I want. I'm on vacation. This makes me feel autonomous and powerful and awesome to be able to make whatever food choices I want in the moment and eat everything that's available. This would be my normal response. Then I have a craving, which is my motivation. What do I really want in that moment? So I had decided that I was going to become a person that focused on my wellness and long-term health rather than short-term health. As an Enneagram type 8, I have a motivation to maintain my strength and avoid vulnerability. Now, in previous spaces, when I would have a cue from my environment, oh, you're traveling, you can eat whatever you want. My motivation in maintaining control and maintaining my strength and avoiding vulnerability was to not let on that all these food choices were creating inflammation and were causing massive weight gain and were causing massive pain. I was avoiding that and pretending I was strong rather than building strength. So I'm in this new environment. I'm getting all these cues that I should just be eating whatever I want. And I have decided that instead, I'm going to use my motivation to be strong and avoid vulnerability in order to make specific choices for myself. So, what did I do? I created a new response. My new response was food prep. So I'm in San Diego. I'm in a beautiful place. I'm in someone else's kitchen. And I call ahead and I say, hey, Canette, I'm going to need to use your kitchen. I'm going to need to cook while I'm there. This is my desired goal. And I got to stand in my motivation of creating strength and power around myself, creating autonomy in a different way. So I food prepped while I was in San Diego. I went to the grocery store. I bought exactly what I needed for myself. That trip also included a trip to Disneyland. In the past, I would have said, "Ooh, environment, Disneyland, must try everything, must do it all." My motivation to maintain the fact that I can do whatever I want would say, "Oh, just go do it. Do whatever you want." But instead, I switched my orientation towards my motivation and said, in order to maintain my sense of self control, my sense of internal power, the best choice I can make for myself is to stabilize my nutrition, stabilize my mood, and wake up every morning feeling awesome. So I packed all my food and I put it on my back and I walked through 95-degree heat in Disneyland. And that was a different response. I normally wouldn't do that, but I had been building that habitual response of food prep. And so when it came time, I simply had to follow through on the thing that I had been doing. That's response. And then the last step of that is, what was the reward? Because when you think about it, we don't do things for no reason. Nobody does things for no reason. There is a reason why we do what we do. And it's because we want to get certain rewards. Now, the Enneagram will also tell you what your rewards are. So for me, my rewards are maintaining my autonomy, maintaining a sense of personal power, and expanding my influence. These are great things that say, hey, you've done what you came here to do. My reaction in that environment was, I did. By doing food prep, I actually maintained a lot of sense of calm because each day I spent time doing something for myself, getting into the kitchen, peeling my eggs, baking my chicken. And instead of thinking, oh, I'm going to be an inconvenience, I thought, you know what? The way for me to be in the best mood is to have this time for myself. What that created was a really, really calm family vacation for myself. Isn't that what everybody wants? A calm family vacation. And I realized it's because I approached my craving in a different way. In the past, I would have eaten whatever was put in front of me. It probably would have made me tired. It would have made me sick. It would have made me in pain. But in repeatedly changing my response to my craving in the face of my environment, I got a new reward. I came home from that amazing San Diego trip, and team, I gotta tell you, I lost weight on a vacation. And I didn't feel deprived. I felt empowered. And for somebody who seeks power and control in her life, it was a brand new way, or at least a way I hadn't played with in a long time, to achieve power and control. So when we look at James Clear's archetype of how to create habits, the first thing you need to do is examine your environment. Where are you? What's around you all the time? When I think about my particular environment, it's made up of my home and the people who live in it. And part of that, part of the cues in my environment that I work to control are, we don't bring things into the house that I don't want to eat, even if it's for the kids, because I don't have that kind of self control. I know, I've tried, I failed. Fruit snacks are the best, but not the best. So, cues, remove things from your environment, or add things to your environment that cue positive habits. We food prep every week. We have brown rice, we have hard boiled eggs, so many already peeled hard boiled eggs. And we always have a huge bowl of veggies, and we always have rotisserie chicken already off the bone, ready to go. So my environmental cues say eat healthy. And then I have this craving. Each time I'm cued, and what do I want? Well, I want to maintain a sense of personal power and control. I want to avoid vulnerability and I want to be strong. Well, what's the best thing that I can do to be strong other than make my body the strongest thing it could possibly be? In the past, I would have said that I was, how do I say this? In my past body, I put a lot of time and energy into denying the fact that I was building a weak body. There was an identity that I was embodying of the plus size girl that could do it all. And she could. She totally could. But it was painful. And I was working against myself more often than not. But I had built up an identity around this girl, this woman, this leader who had what she wanted and was in a body that was bigger. Okay, great. But at some point, that started to not be real. There was a moment, I remember it very distinctly, where I remembered that I came into the realization that the body I was building was not actually strong. In fact, I was scared I was going to break my ankle. I was scared of falling because my weight had literally become too much. So when I discovered this, when I did some subconscious thinking through this, I discovered that I wasn't actually satiating my internal motivation. I was denying it. This whole reframe of using my desire to create a new habit, a new response, changed everything. Because in the end, we're all going to get rewards. It's just what reward do we want? So, my encouragement is read this book, read it. But it's really hard to make habit changes when you don't know why you are doing the thing that you are doing. If you want to know why you do what you do, the real intrinsic, nitty gritty, deep down motivation, that answer can be found in your Enneagram analysis. When we know why we do what we do, we can take a step back and say, how do I really serve that craving? How do I really serve that motivation? What is the highest and best way that I can approach getting what I want? For me, eating anything and everything that I wanted wasn't actually getting me what I want. Instead, understanding that preparation and healthy food and commitment to daily exercise, these are the things that were actually getting me what I wanted, which is mobility, the ability to go on like a 4 mile, 6 mile, whatever, a mile hike and not even think about it. These are things I want. And when I shift my understanding of my craving, I shift my response to it, and then I get the rewards I actually want. So when you read this book, and if you've already read this book, please tell me how you are interpreting it, how you're using it. But it only made so much more sense to me in how was I able to actually shift my life and my identity? It's because I holistically changed my habits using my core motivation. If this piques your interest, if you are totally ready to shift habits and know how and why to shift your habits, I highly encourage you to join us at Enneagram for Evolving Leaders. It is our first emotional intelligence conference in Des Moines. It is on February 9th and 10th. It's at the Des Moines Botanical Gardens, and there's already a link in this post. So if this has enticed you, tripped your trigger, or if you want to go deeper into this, not only are you going to start to understand your own internal motivations, but if you lead people and want to create different habits in them, it is essential that you understand their intrinsic motivators. So my invitation is bring your team. Because if you want to change your environment, change your relationship to your motivation. Thank you. And please, please, please let me know your thoughts about this.